In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. May all thanks be to Allah, Lord of all. And may Allah the Almighty bestow His peace and blessings on our Prophet Muhammad, the last and the Imam of all messengers, the mercy to the worlds, and upon his kind and pure kin and his loyal companions, and all who follow till Judgment Day. Furthermore, my dear viewers, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, and I welcome you to this new session of these continuing episodes in the realm of the Holy Quran. Our discussion today is considered as a continuation to what we said in the previous episode about the importance of guarding the Prophet who has delivered the message to us, May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. The greatness of the messenger is that of this message, rather from the greatness of the sender of the message, Allah the Almighty. So it is not strange that Allah said, "Verily we have sent you as a witness, as a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner, in order that you may believe in Allah and His messenger, and that you assist and honor Him, and glorify praises morning and afternoon." And the previous verses has a unique way with the language, which is called to collate and then broadcast. And it is something we should not overlook when we explain Allah's saying, "In order that you may believe in Allah and His messenger." Here, Allah Almighty mentions Himself and His messenger, two sides, Allah and the Prophet, the Almighty and the messenger, in order that you may believe in Allah and His messenger, and that you assist and honor Him. The pronoun Him in the previous verse is speaking about the Prophet, peace be upon him, but the pronoun to glorify is speaking about Allah the Almighty. And this is what is known as collating and broadcasting or publishing. So to collate here means is to group together many entities or names of things, and give general descriptions and rulings without a link. Then leave it to the acumen of the listener to link each with its proper owner depending on the pronoun. So the pronoun in Allah's saying, "and that He assist and honor Him," speaks about the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and the other pronoun in to glorify Him, this pronoun means Allah the Almighty. That means that assisting and honoring the Prophet, peace be upon him, is part of the faith, as is the love for him is an integral part of faith, and the main of the foundations of Islam. So honoring him, peace and blessings be upon him, is one of the signs of believing in his prophecy, in believing in the message he was sent with. And this reminds us of the verses in Surah Al-Ahzab, when Allah the Almighty directs the meaning of the Quran to His messenger regarding his marriage. "O Prophet, verily we have made lawful to your wives." So this is directed to the Prophet. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, meaning we have made it lawful for you to wed. So the pronoun here speaks about the Prophet, peace be upon him. "O Prophet, verily we have made lawful to you wives." Then Allah added, "and a believing woman." And according to the text, and the composition of the text, we may think that the verses should have read, "a believing woman," if you wanted to. A believing woman if the Prophet wanted to marry her, or a believing woman who wishes to be wed to the Prophet. However, Allah Almighty changed the form of speech from you to he, meaning from second to third person pronoun. Allah did not say, "and a believing woman who wishes to wed you," but Allah Almighty said, "to wed the Prophet." This is a generous and elegant meaning, which is no matter how many times you read this verse, you will feel that it is not just about any ordinary person, but it is about who was given the proven prophecy, meaning as if He is saying, "Pay attention, you are not speaking about just anyone. You are in the presence of the Prophet. You are talking about the Prophet. You are talking about the Prophet." So do not let these doubts penetrate or leak to your mind, or arrive and mix with your thought. This is not to be allowed, to follow on with such thought and ideas as said and repeated. Ideas as said and repeated by the adversaries of Islam, of what is being brought forth by them of lies and nonsense. Lies and nonsense. How nice the speech of Allah to His Messenger. Allah did not say if she wants to wed you. Allah Almighty said, a believing woman the Prophet wishes to marry her. And the objective of such wording, as stated by the scholars of the linguistics, is to force and show prestige. To show prestige in the eyes of the beholder, or the person who ponders in the text. If she wishes for the Prophet to wed her, and in that verse to emphasize the meaning of greatness and prestige. The word Prophet was said twice, not using the pronoun. It was said twice, not using the pronoun, but saying the Prophet again to make the narrator feel and to help bring clearer the meaning in this regard. This great meaning about the Prophet, not about just anyone. If she wishes for the Prophet to wed her, if she offers herself to the Prophet, if the Prophet wishes, not if he wishes, Allah said. But Allah Almighty said, or a believing woman offers herself to the Prophet, peace be upon him, if the Prophet wishes to marry her. A privilege for you only, not for the rest of the believers. This form of speech establishes with us what we should practice from this guide. If we speak about the Prophet, peace be upon him, or if the speech was in regard to Allah the Almighty, then we cannot address the Prophet the same way we do ourselves and our peers, or to think of him, peace be upon him, that any of us is an equal to him. We should not. We should know our stance and behave accordingly. The scale of evaluation that we weigh the Prophet with is with a much higher standard than ours. And this is one way of knowing and respecting the ranks and establishing for morals and highly valued manners within a Muslim self, and within the selves of all who hear the holy text, the Quran being read and recited. That was one of the portraits, what we have spoke about. Soon we will move on to another portrait to exhibit in the subject. After we have spoken about the relation between the man and his Creator, and the relation with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and to talk about the relation with the fellow citizens in one's country, whether regarding the people of the book or the non-believers and idol worshippers. We spoke about all of this, and now we come to explain what is meant by that special relation between the person and his parents. This close and intimate relationship with one's parents, and relation that should be preserved and surrounded by mercy and compassion, and tenderness, and a broad chest. Allah Almighty says, and lower unto them the wing of submission and humility through mercy. This is a miracle form of word. Humility. If I was to say the previous verse, I would have said or thought I should say, and lower unto them the wing of power and pride through mercy, because this would be closer in meaning to being nice to the parents, and being merciful with them, and compassionate with their age. But the Holy Quran did not say lower the wing of power and pride, not to put down your pride, to raise theirs. But Allah said, and lower unto them the wing of submission and humility through mercy. What is being said here? I say that the meaning here, where a believer is requested to lower his wing to his brethren, meaning be kind and humble to them. Allah Almighty says, Allah will bring a people whom He will love, and they will love Him. Humble towards the believers. Humble too. Allah wants a believer to be humble to other Muslims, but without losing self-pride and dignity. So we must be humble to other Muslims. This is the correct expression. So the Quran is clear: be humble and kind, and lower your wing to others in humility. In humility. This is how the Quran describes the believers. So this is not a humility because of lack of personality, or of power or character. No, this is out of goodness and kindness. This includes the meanings of love, and this includes the meaning of love and kindness, as if humility has compassion wrapped into it. So not out of weakness, but out of kindness. Merciful with the believers, kind and humble. So if a believer is asked to be humble with other believers, it is more appropriate to be more humble and kind with his parents, kind and compassionate. So he is humble and kind. And again, and lower unto them the wing of submission and humility through mercy. This is a great value that we should never forget about. We should never forget about, especially when dealing with our parents. And lower unto them the wing of submission and humility through mercy. Again, he was asked to lower unto them the wing of submission and humility to his parents. We should never forget how to deal with our parents. We should never forget how to deal with our parents. I now leave you for a short break, but we will return and continue soon, inshallah. Before the break, we mentioned what is related to the rights of the parents. And to be honest, I cannot find a stronger verse in its content or meaning like this verse that made for the parents a great fortune of sacred and obedience. Sacred and obedience. This should be a basis for dealing with them, and should be very well preserved in all times and conditions, unless when it comes to Allah's rights and the duties of Islam. But if they strive with you to make join in worship with me others, that of which you have no knowledge, then obey them not. Meaning, you do not obey your parents if they want to come between you and your Islamic belief in worshipping Allah, and not worshipping anyone else and doing your rightful duties, not worshipping anyone else and doing your rightful duties. And this is very clear in the following verse of Allah the Almighty's words: worship Allah and join none with Him, and do good to parents. Then in Surah Al-Isra, and your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him, and that you be dutiful to your parents. When one considers these two texts well, it will be discovered that Allah the Almighty has compared between His rightful command of us to worship Him and the rights of the parents of being good to them. I'm not saying here that we are joining between the right of Allah and the right of the parents being the same sort. No, God forbids. We are merely comparing between the right of Allah to be worshipped and that of the parents to be obeyed, where obedience does not go against that of Allah. So I ask, why did not Allah join between His right to be worshipped and that of the prophets to be obeyed? I say, because nations before us went astray when they did not know what is Allah's right and what was the right of their prophet or messenger, in accordance with faith. Believe in Allah and His messenger. Believe in Allah and His messenger. Answer Allah and His messenger when He calls you. Allah did not join between His right to be worshipped and the right of the prophet to be obeyed in one text, for people not to go astray. But in the case of the parents, it is known Allah is alone to be worshipped. Allah Almighty has no partners. It is clear the only one worthy to be worshipped, and all else are not, is Allah Almighty. Allah is to be worshipped, and no one else. No one else. So, if worshipping is accepted for anyone beside Allah the Almighty, it would have been accepted to the parrots. So the least you can do is fulfill their right in obedience and respect. Because it is without a doubt that by pleasing the parents, one will please Allah Almighty. This is part or a side that is much forgotten or overlooked by many in this busy life. This busy life that has detracted most of the people of their duties called for by Islam, and that was set forth by Allah Almighty for the believers, as seen from the eloquence of the Prophet, peace and prayers be upon him. As seen, of course, from the eloquence of the Prophet, peace and prayers be upon him. So these are the verses in Holy Text that show us how to organize these relations. All this is mentioned. Allah the Almighty has mentioned all of this. Allah Almighty, as I said, has mentioned all of this. The relation between the believer and Allah Almighty cannot be at its best if the relation between him and his fellow humans is not well. For that we notice that when Abu Sufyan was asked about the Prophet, peace be upon him, whether he lied, or was asked if the people of Abu Sufyan, meaning the unbelievers of Mecca, accused him of lying. That happened when the Byzantine king Hercules asked him in regard to our Prophet, peace and prayers be upon him, and Abu Sufyan then said no. So the king said, well, I do not think he would not lie to people, and then go lie unto the Almighty. So the good relation with the people is a sign of good relation with the Creator. And here this meaning comes clear and sharp of what the Quran has said in this divine message, the divine message of Allah that represents forgiveness. And protects the human dignity, and resembles the better being and livelihood of mankind and the role he was entrusted with. So man cannot move on, improve, become better, and become something in this life that is worthwhile, become powerful with power or authority. Man cannot better his life, even if he was a man with a job, or a man of authority, or money, or influence. If he was a judge or a counselor, a lawyer, an engineer, a physician, a teacher, a tutor, a religious scholar, no one can be better, no one can lift his act high and play a more important role unless he or she realize these important sides and comes to know it well, very well. And this is where people differ. People differ in the ranks of faith. And they also do differ on the good they do. Faith is increased with good deeds, meaning faith will be stronger and more present in one's life when good is done. Faith increases in the believer's heart and soul. It does not increase in its essence, because it does not change. So faith increases the hearts of the believers. The gap between the ranks of faith is a result of the difference between the amount of work and deeds that a believer does. There are some who do the acts of worshipping, but they treat people badly. You see them in the mosques and on Fridays, the first ones to go to the prayers, walking to the mosque many times every day, in and out. They pray all prayers in their prescribed time. They fast Ramadan. They do zakah and perform hajj, probably every year, but they also treat people in a bad way. All of their work is worthless, and the work they do will not do them good, because the Quran has given us a divine constitution and the law of Islam. The Quran has given us a divine constitution and the law of Islam. it has what is needed to lift the lives of mankind in all its part and doings, in behavior, in dealings, in daily activities, and as I said, in buying and selling, in making rulings or receiving it, while leaving home or coming back, paying or receiving, while traveling or in his home country, in health and sickness, present or absent, in all of the wakes of life. If the believer does not take all of this into account from all what he received from the Holy Quran, he will need to work hard and needs to take the firm way and keep on trying until he reaches the high level of humanity that is accepted by Allah for humans. As Allah Almighty says, and indeed we have honored the children of Adam. I ask Allah the Almighty to bestow on us all the garments of honesty and loyalty in sayings and deeds, and help us become an example of good to be followed by others, and to teach us the morals and manners of the Holy Quran. And may peace and prayers and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad and his kin.